Takes a lot of dedication and motivation to be a triathlete. Can't even imagine.
Dan, a little crazy, but this guy takes it even a step further, huh?
And even some from there. You could call him the Minnesota Iron Man. Tony Schiller is the best triathlete the state has ever produced, and he's still producing victories. Joe Schmidt found out Tony Schiller is more than a guy, a three-sport star. He's a guy who can walk the walk and talk the talk.
As a triathlete, Tony Schiller combines 3 separate disciplines into one sporting event: the swim, the cycling, and the running. But there is one more discipline that Tony has mastered.
I don't want you saying, it's my weakness, I'm no good at that. Instead, I want you to say, it's my most challenging event, the one I'm working on improving. Make sense?
Tony is also a motivational speaker. Today he was talking the talk with some young gymnasts.
Seek out these challenges that you have, to commit yourself to things, but to understand that they're simply an extension of who we are. The core person has got to be together too. And so when it comes right down to it, winning a race really means very little.
Imagine that, a 3-time world champion triathlete telling kids that winning really isn't the only thing. Sometimes it means nothing. A message he's learned firsthand, and a message that he spreads to the parents of athletes too.
The message to parents is that it doesn't matter when it all comes and goes, whether your son or daughter has potential to make the Olympics or to be a professional athlete. That will not make a difference in whether or not they end up becoming solid citizens and good people that grow up to have an excellent life.
Tony is still beating the youngsters in triathlons.
I call it the quit monster. It's going.
He says the motivational speaking works both ways. He helps others, and in turn, it helps him reach his goals.
I went out to an event in Memphis, Tennessee. Many of the top triathletes in the country were at this race. And right before the event started, a sponsor came up to me and asked me if I would try out her company's new product, which was this helmet. She said, "Tony, the tail fin section is aerodynamic. It's shaped to allow you to slice right through the wind. If you use it, you'll save at least a minute on a 25-mile ride." I said, "Great, let's go for it." Well, that day, I had the breakaway feeling alive inside. I went out and finished the swim against 1,000 people in 15th place. Man, I was pumped up. I got on the bike, and immediately I could feel the aerodynamics. I was flying. I was speeding past my competition like they were standing still. But the weirdest thing kept happening. Each person that I passed laughed. Now, I've been racing since '73, as you heard, and this has never happened before. So I knew something was wrong, but what? Well, when you're in the breakaway mode, you focus in on what you have control over. For me, that was going as fast as I could go, so I sped on. Well, then I went past a large crowd, not as big as all of us, but a big crowd. And as I went by them, they all laughed, too. And this was a scary thought, because I started to think about what it could possibly be, and then it hit me. Oh, no. You see, we do triathlons where we swim and bike and run, wearing oftentimes nothing more than a little Speedo. And I thought, uh-oh, did something happen to my Speedo? I took a look down and checked everything out, and luckily it was all intact. And so I sped on past the guy in fourth, and he laughed. And then past the guy in third, and he laughed too. And then finally past the guy in second, and he was laughing so hard he could barely keep his bike upright. I figured, what the heck, well, they're laughing, I'm passing, right? And then now we were into the final event, a run. And I had one guy left to catch. He was a world-class swimmer, but not much of a runner, and that was my specialty, and I went after him. And as I closed in at the finish line, I ran out of time. But I finished in second, 8 seconds out of first, and went back to where all the guys were gathering and saw them, and they began to laugh. And then I said, "You guys, what is it? What's so funny? I don't get it." And that's when the joke really took life. It turns out that I'd gone the entire 25 miles at 28 miles per hour wearing my new aerodynamic helmet. Backwards. There it was. This is a true story. I went from being Tony Schiller, the new hotshot on the pro scene, to being Tony Schiller, the beak geek. You have your best breakaway moments when you show up like there's nowhere else you want to be. I mean this. When you have your best performances, in fact, it's a requirement for you to have your best performances that you show up like there's absolutely nowhere else in the world you want to be at that moment. And if you can't get into that place, then you always will be operating at just a small percentage of your true potential.
Tony's inspirational message has universal appeal. Here's what just some of his clients are saying. Thank you for a terrific presentation. My entire team embraced your breakaway theme. In all my years of hiring speakers for our association, you were the best at studying our group and modifying your message to fit. Sustaining our high level of intensity and performance is always a challenge. Your message on staying power really struck home with our sales and engineering team. Tony's many stories and experiences allow him to create a fun and memorable event to help your group break away.
And as I was sprinting down the home stretch of my 5-mile race, another athlete was finishing his 1-mile race. He was in a wheelchair. It was a 14-year-old boy named Paul. And Paul was sweating and struggling to get the wheelchair up the hill. It was his first event, and he had lost the use of his legs that year. And I was so moved by his effort to finish that afterwards I decided to give Paul the trophy at the awards ceremony. And I went out and handed it to him, and his smile was ear to ear. It meant so much more to Paul than it ever could have meant to me. It was wonderful. And I began to win each of these years. And finally in 1995, I had won for the 12th time, and I had given like my 6th trophy away. But in 1996, I came back going after lucky number 13. Wanted to win the race. I'm going out there to do my warm-up, and I did my final sprint. Ooh, feeling good. Everything's checking out just right. Then all of a sudden, he went by me. And I went back to the race director. I said, Gary, who's that? And he said, oh, his name is Mahdi. He's going to be running for Somalia in the Olympics in Atlanta. And he needed a tune-up race. So I showed up at the line, and Mahdi's right next to me, and the gun went off, and I ran as hard as I could. I'm really puffing. He says, you're famous. I said, oh, I don't know. Yeah, you win many times. I said, oh, I don't know. And then he said, I go now. He was gone in a flash, and I never saw him all the way back to the finish line. And so we went back to the awards ceremony. They bring me up for my little medal, and then they brought up Mahdi, and he got this huge trophy. And when he got it, he jumped down into the crowd, and he went and handed it to a little boy in a wheelchair. And the crowd went nuts. I went nuts. Cool. I was really neat of him to do that. So I went back to talk to Mahdi just before we left, and I said, hey, Mahdi, are you coming back next year to race? He said, no. I said, why not? Because they won't let you keep the trophy here. And I had the biggest smile. To tie it all together, here's what I learned, gang. If you want to really have wonderful meaning in your work, and I know you do, definitely you focus in on getting a job that's going to reward you well monetarily. That's important. You want to definitely be able to do the kind of work that you trained for and that will give you significant meaning, yes. But the real difference, the breakaway edge, is when you wake up in the morning and you know you're going off to a place to be part of a team that's building something and making a difference in the world. That will make you excited, and the place to start is in your own heart. Are you willing to approach your career not like it's a job, not like you're going out to finish your ordeal, but instead to go out to make a true difference in the world? It's a great day for a breakaway. Winning that race was a prelude to many, and did it despite never being skinny. The lesson is simple but seems complicated. Immediate gratification is way overrated. Hope is eternal. If your attitude is winning, today can mark a brand new beginning. You too can do it, even if it takes years. Just have to get over a few of those fears. It's a great day for a breakaway. Your race of life deserves full throttle. Add enthusiasm, and anything's possible. It starts with a plan, so what's your goal? Is it deep within your heart and soul? Here's the secret, always in fashion. Winning your race is all about passion.
Tony Schiller, wearing the number 1. Wow. 1:26.52. 1:26.52.
Are you winning your race? Are you setting your own pace? Go for it. Make today your day to break away. Thanks.